Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hello, hello, hello. Is that way too loud? I will try not to yell at all of you. Thank you for coming. Coming to learn about PowerApps and about how we can really start to drive really transformational stuff inside of our organizations on this technology. This is the title that is officially approved. I like to think of this session for you Stanley Kubrick fans in the audience more like how I learned to stop worrying and learn to love low code instead. Thanks. But we're going to talk about PowerApps today. PowerApps is as many of you probably know, a low-code platform service for rapidly building web and mobile apps that are connected to data throughout your organization, and doing it with writing very little code. And that's very powerful. It opens up a lot of opportunities. We've been talking about it a lot at this conference, and you'll hear about it a lot more as we go. Just quick show of hands, how many people have actually worked with PowerApps? How many people have some PowerApps experience? Okay, all right, that's a pretty good showing. That's awesome. What are we going to do today? I want to spend some time talking about PowerApps in context. Now, a lot of you have probably already tried this out, so we won't linger too long there, but I do think it's important to share a little bit about how we think about PowerApps at Microsoft, why we think it's important, why you should care about it. We also want to talk a little bit more about what do people actually do with PowerApps? What have we learned so far in the last almost year that this has been in the market? And what kind of success have we seen? And where is it going? And then for the skeptics in the audience, we want to really address this question that a lot of you may have if you didn't raise your hand, which is how easy is it really? What can I really do with this platform? And we'll spend a good chunk of today actually working in the product, doing some demos, and showing off how it works, and showing off some of the new stuff that's available. That immediately bleeds into the next question, which is sort of where does this fit in the bigger picture of Microsoft, particularly with Office 365 and Dynamics 365. We'll also touch on how it fits in the picture with what you can do with Pro Development and Azure as well. And we'll do some more demoing there of how we really start to integrate into all of those products in a powerful way. And then finally, what's coming next? What's up? And where do we go from here? And certainly, I think those of you who raise your hands in the audience are probably interested in that as well. So why do I care? At the most basic level, we're in this because business software is hard. And everybody who has experience with it in any capacity can identify with that at some level, I think. And that's not to be trivial, right? I think part of the reason that business software is hard is that very few of us work with all of the information and all of the controls at our fingertips all of the time. And we often think about business software like this. We sort of think about it in terms of dashboards and controls and configuration and having an intimate handle on our business and having all the knowledge in front of us at all times. But in reality, the world isn't that integrated, and we don't all sit in front of rich dashboards and control screens with instant access to everything and smart computers that fly the business for us quite yet. Most of us are, especially in this travel scenario, are working more like this, right? We're on the go. We have small screens. We need to know some tiny bit of information right now, really quickly, and then we need to take action on it. And oftentimes, where that information is coming from and where that action is going are two completely different places. And if we're not, in an information worker scenario, we're often in a frontline scenario where we need a really focused task. We want to, construct a customer service experience and bring together a 360-degree view of that customer to drive really useful action really quickly. Or we're in a frontline worker scenario, which we see a lot of traction in PowerApps and use cases like this, actually, where we're actually needing to do really hands-on operational stuff, which again touches a whole nother set of data sources and types of use cases. And all of these things require some level of customization that just doesn't come out of the box. They all require access to the data that we're using, the systems that we're using, the underlying applications in a whole lot of new places that aren't just sitting in front of a large control panel all the time. And they all need to be secure and governed, right? They can't just be toys. They have to actually work in an enterprise context that our businesses trust. And they need to be sort of crafted. This isn't about giving every frontline employee access to all of our operational data. It's about crafting the experience that is absolutely necessary to check a customer in for a flight or inspect a wind turbine or an engine, and really bring that down to a very focused experience to step employees through it. And as employees, as people, we need these things to move quickly. We just cannot wait for the old pace of custom software development to catch up, and the time and the cost and the expense of trying to describe a problem and send out an RFP and get people to reply to it and then write a requirements document and then go through the whole process. It just doesn't work for a lot of these use cases. We have to move much more quickly than that. We need apps that work like we work, like our employees need to work, and we need them quickly. We need to change them. We need to iterate them. I like to share with my team the joke that, especially when we're building even PowerApps, there's really only one day on which software is done. And it's not a happy day. It's always changing, right? So business apps especially are never complete. Even the things we buy off the shelf and start working with out of the box, even those things, we know they never solve 100% of the problems that each of our individual processes and businesses have. And we always need to either hook them up to other things or extend them or build on top of them to go further. The problem is that the classic options for doing that have really left a lot to be desired, and for the last several decades we've had this debate about, do I build it or do I buy it? And it's really just an outdated way of thinking. The problem is really, there's a lot of stuff you just can't buy. For as far as SaaS has come, and as many great SaaS products are out there on the market, there are still a huge pile of use cases inside of all of our companies that there just won't ever be a very specific solution for on the face of the market. Some of you may have seen James's keynote yesterday and heard the IPS customer who is doing, their core business is sort of repairing electric generation equipment. And they're going through, they've built really intricate 70, 80, 90 screen PowerApps to go break down the process of breaking down a wind turbine or an electric generator step by step, measuring fault tolerances. There's just no app for that, right? And so on the other hand, the stuff we do buy, because it doesn't fit 100% of our use cases, we always have to build and extend on top of it. And so really the dichotomy of build or buy doesn't exist anymore. It's really more about how do we do more with what we have, with the tools we have, also the skills we have. And that leads into the second dichotomy that's kind of a false one, right? Is this going to be driven by the business or is it going to be driven by IT? We all have this sort of cultural opposition that's been built up and angsty for a long time. And this one also is just really not that productive anymore. Because at the end of the day, this conversation is really about the people who understand the problem and the people who have the skills to solve the problem working together more efficiently. And problems really get solved and businesses really start transforming when this doesn't become oppositional, it becomes cooperational. And there's something very powerful that we'll talk about in the PowerApps platform that starts to do that at a lot of levels. Now, this is not a new ambition. This is not a new thing at Microsoft. If you're a Fast Company reader, Fast Company dug up a video from 1993 last week that is a long, like 3-hour-long Microsoft phone-a-thon. I guess we did that 30 years ago. And a young TMM named Satya Nadella is featured in there, demonstrating a solution that takes data out of a mainframe and pops it into Excel so Power users can work with it and model it in the UI. We've been talking about this for a long time. And it's not just talking about it, right? We've got millions of makers in the Microsoft community who have been working around the problems and the gaps in their out-of-the-box business software for decades. And they've been doing it in Excel. It's a language that millions and millions of people speak, and it's still basically the most common business application platform in the enterprise today, right? It's at least at the duct tape level, it's holding a lot of processes together. And then they're, for a long time used Visual Basic for applications and stood up Access databases, and still have a rich, vibrant community extending SharePoint and putting data in lists, and using InfoPath to craft forms on top of that. For a long time, and especially for the Microsoft community, a lot of us in this room have been using tools like this to fill in the gaps that didn't come out of the box with our business software. But the problem with a lot of those tools is that for a long time, they haven't been cloud first. They haven't been addressable on multiple devices. It hasn't been easy to get to that Access database or that InfoPath form from my mobile phone or from an Android tablet. And they haven't really been connected to all of the other data sources that I'm using in my company. The integration problem has been hard. They also haven't been centrally manageable. And I think everybody has a war story from an IT department about the day that an Ethernet cable got kicked out from under an Access database database running under somebody's desk and the whole company went down. And it's important to have that, that central manageability, that visibility as well from a company perspective. And the last problem is that a lot of these solutions, and in fact, a lot of the low-code solutions on the marketplace today have cliffs. You know, at some point you get to a level of sophistication that you just can't solve as a power user without writing code. And a lot of past platforms, both from our companies and for others, that was a dead end. You had to go do something else. It became a full stack problem for a pro developer, which as we know is really hard. These are the kinds of problems conceptually that we're addressing in PowerApps from a roadmap perspective and from where the product is right now. PowerApps is a cloud-native, cloud-first solution that does truly build apps across platforms, and that includes mobile applications as well as web applications, as well as customizing applications that you're already using. It is intimately connected to the fabric of data sources that are in your company. There's, I think today, 166 connectors out of the box and more coming all the time. You can add new things to that. It is inherently centrally manageable. Everybody shows up to PowerApps and swipes their virtual badge of their Active Directory identity at the door. And that means that they have great visibility inside of their company to what's going on. And we get that balance between empowering users to solve problems, but still having central visibility from an IT perspective, and we'll talk more about that. And finally, from a PowerApps perspective, there are really no cliffs in this platform. In fact, you know, both the broader platform that PowerApps plays a part of, and even in PowerApps itself, it's very easy to start plugging in building blocks and solutions that professional developers make to make these apps go further, and we'll talk a little bit more about how that can work as well. So for those of you who are new, and we'll go over this quickly because a lot of you are not, what are the kind of core building blocks of PowerApps, what's really here? Really, PowerApps revolves around this easy authoring experience for building apps, and it's WYSIWYG, and it's, you know, it's no secret that it looks kind of like PowerPoint, and we'll do a demo it in a minute, so I won't linger too much here. It's also intimately connected to all of these data sources, and this is just literally the tip of the spear. Most importantly there, though, sorry, I went forward too quickly, this is also built on top of the common data service. So there's a native data platform that comes with PowerApps that has a model that's stamped out with all of the business entities that I would want to normally build an application around, accounts and contacts and leads and everything else, so that when I need to go build a new application that revolves around those things, I don't have to start from scratch. I don't have to think about where is that data and how do I get to it and what should I model it as and what fields do I need to set up. A lot of those decisions are just already made for me, and I can start building quickly from there, and we'll see a little bit about that later. And of course, it's cross-platform, so you know, publish in one hit. There are players that I can run on my iOS device, my Android device, my Windows phone, and of course I can run these on the web as well. Sharing them is really like sharing a document inside of any environment. I can pop in and start typing the name of a user or security group and press a button, and bam, the app shows up. I don't have to wait to you know, send something off to the Apple Store and figure out how to do that and wait for an approval process. I don't have to do some kind of weird side loading. It's just there, and it just works. And of course, this is enterprise ready, and you know, behind all of that great, easy, you know, build it fast infrastructure is a true enterprise grade platform that provides manageability, provides data loss prevention policies, provides central views of telemetry and app analytics, and is compliant with more standards than you can shake a stick at, including HIPAA and soon, early next year, GDPR, and we'll talk about that in the roadmap slide. And of course, the no cliffs part is really important too, right? It's a very easy now and getting easier every day to start extending the apps that you build on this platform with the full power of Azure. Really anything that you can put a REST API on, it's pretty easy to start connecting and using inside of PowerApps. And that just really blows the lid off of the capabilities of what you can do on this platform. That's pretty cool. Now, PowerApps, you know, like all of us, belongs in a family. And PowerApps is really the centerpiece of this family. We like to think of it as the matriarch of the business application platform that you know, includes Power BI for analysis and measuring data, and includes Microsoft Flow for automating workflow and setting up processes, right? And it's built on top of this data stack that includes the common data service we talked about and all of those connectors. And really, we see the most value when we start to use these things together. And that's what we'll start to do and show off in a little while. So you add that all up, and what you get is this sort of highly scalable platform. That is, the problem gets more complex and the solution gets more complex, you don't fall off a cliff, right? And you start with really simple use cases like a form I want to customize inside of SharePoint. And we grow up from there to standalone apps that I want to build primarily in PowerApps, but I might want to plug some components into, and then we can really go even further from that and fully extend PowerApps with those custom connectors and build really robust solutions in the enterprise. And we're seeing great evidence of that from a customer perspective already today. So that's a little bit about why we should care. We certainly care. We hope you do too. But a lot of this to make it real, who's really using this in real life? Beyond these conference pitches and the cool demos we'll do, what does this look like in the real world? And then we'll go through the others. You may have seen the slide yesterday, but as of today, there are more than 1 million monthly active users of PowerApps and Flow at more than 213,000 organizations across the planet. We had a great debate about how many countries that equated to, and if you want to have a great sidebar on ISO country codes, you can talk to Darshan afterwards. But it's a lot, arguably more than exists, depending on your standard. And a lot of great names that come along with that, right? We've been telling these stories over the course of the last few days, and we'll continue to tell them. There's certainly more than fit on this slide, but I want to glance over a couple of them just to give examples of the type of things that people are building here. So you may have heard about NASCAR. This is a very, frankly, simple scenario, kind of on that lower end of the graph, right? So they manage a bunch of information in SharePoint. They have over 1,600 events a year. They send constantly. That's more than one by far a day for those of you who can do division, right? So they're constantly sending an army of employees to racetracks and places all over the world, and they need to know where to go. They need to know where to get their badge. They need to know where to show up in the morning, and what they're on track for today. And they track a lot of that information today in in SharePoint. But in order to actually take all that information into a racetrack, into a stadium, they've built PowerApps on top of it that leverages the data in SharePoint as the back end. Just gives very mobile, touch-friendly guidance to those employees for each of the things they need to show up for and where they need to go. You may have seen the G&J Pepsi app that we demoed in the keynote yesterday. If you haven't, it's a really cool story as well. G&J Pepsi is the largest family-owned, 100% family-owned distributor and bottler of Pepsi products in the United States. They service 61 counties in the Midwest. They stock over 400 Pepsi products on shelves of grocery stores and other retailers in that region. And that equates to a couple of things. For one, it means they're not a sophisticated enterprise IT shop. I mean, this is a big mid-market customer, but they're sitting with about 8 people in their IT organization, and none of them are truly full-stack pro developers. But it also means that they have a ton of specific use cases. They're constantly sending people every day, dozens of people, into retail locations, into particular locations within those retail locations, particular parts of the store, to audit and inspect how the products are doing on the shelves, to order new product when new product needs to be available, and to report back on the general state of the merchandise in that area. And that's a complicated problem that previously was a paper process. And Eric at G&J, who you may have met in an earlier session today, had not written a line of application code in his life before he came to PowerApps, and picked up PowerApps and in the matter of weeks learned the platform, and now has an app built on PowerApps that the entire workforce at that company is using on a regular basis, on a daily basis, to run their operations. That's powerful, and that's transformative, and you don't get that in classic ways. TransAlta is another customer that, as we start to work up that level of sophistication, has another one of those business problems that there just really is no app for. TransAlta is an energy company. They operate hydroelectric plants and wind farms across North America and the far reaches of Canada. And their business problem is, on Saturday morning at 5 a.m. when an alarm goes off on a wind turbine that's somewhere north in Alberta, an employee in a call center who gets that alert needs to make a decision. Is it worth it to put 3 highly skilled mechanics on a bush plane right now on Saturday morning, wake them up, fly them out, pay them overtime to go fix that wind turbine? Or can we wait until they're going to be there next Tuesday on their regularly scheduled visit? That's a hard question to answer, right? You need a lot of different data and a lot of different information from different sources to answer that question. You need to know, what is the energy market going to do? What's the wind forecast going to be? How bad is the alert really? And what do we know from our past models that allows us to predict whether we should put those people on that plane or not? And TransLentil had all those data sources. The problem is they didn't have an easy customer-facing UI for that person at 5 a.m. in the call center to just sort of click some buttons and make that model and make the decision. And they built it in PowerApps, and they built it very quickly in PowerApps, and it paid for itself in the first weekend, they like to say, by making better decisions for that company. So really just a huge breadth of use cases that are solvable here. I'm sure you have stories in the audience that we haven't even heard yet, and we'd love to hear them as well. But beyond any individual customer and individual story, we're thrilled to get some recognition from the marketplace as well. In fact, PC Magazine just a couple months ago did a head-to-head comparison of a lot of low-code app development platforms, including Salesforce Lightning, Google App Maker, and others in the industry, and ranked us on top, gave us one of 2 Editor's Choice Awards, and called it a power user's dream. And we particularly felt good about that because they also looked at us a year prior, before we had actually even fully launched and we were in a preview. And they weren't that impressed at that time, fair enough. But they specifically called us out for the rapid progress that the platform has made. And maybe you've seen it as well. There's just a phenomenal amount of effort going in on these teams that we're super proud of, and on every couple weeks we're releasing new features and adding to the platform, and we're being very responsive to what we hear from you. We love that feedback, and we want to keep moving quickly. So back to that question. So who's really creating apps? It's a breadth of people, right? And it ranges from folks like the Erics at G&J, who are the makers on our team, who have those Excel skills, who maybe know their way around a database or built an info path form before, all the way up to departmental IT stories, people who are empowering the business to go solve very specific problems within departments, and central IT stories as well. In fact, at Microsoft, we're also a customer of PowerApps, and Microsoft IT is in the process of building and rolling out applications for Microsoft employees worldwide that take some of our classic processes and modernize them and make them mobile. And it's also, we've seen a lot of gravity from partners in the space as well. Even though this is a low-code platform, it's not just for people who don't know how to write code. It's also a powerful accelerant for folks who do know their way around technology, to focus on the bits that matter, to focus on the expertise that they have in a subject matter area, to focus on those hard back-end problems, and then very quickly take care of all the stuff that is hard in custom app development, like how do I get a cross-platform mobile app across iOS and Android and distribute it in the click of a button, and how do I handle auth, and how do I make sure that all the controls look good, and how do I position things the way that I want, right? PowerApps makes all of that much easier and much faster, and allows even people who are more sophisticated to focus on the problems that really matter. And what kind of things are they building? And we saw a little bit about this in the case studies, but this is really a lot of people building on top of data and applications that they already have, extending them to use cases that just don't fit out of the box with their normal stuff. A lot of that are mobile worker scenarios, things like the inspection level applications that we've seen from IPS and even G&J Pepsi. At the end of the day, breaking down a wind turbine and inspecting Pepsi on a shelf are 2 totally different business processes, but the application scenarios are actually relatively similar, right? I need to walk an employee step by step through a process to go inspect something, to take photos of it, to rate how things are going, and submit that information back centrally somewhere where I can manage it. And there are tons of those use cases across the industry that are always going to be best served by a custom crafted and adapted thing. We also see a lot of gravity in mashup scenarios, and one of the great powers of PowerApps is that we can really easily bring in data from multiple sources and make it contextual for one of those workers in context. And so we've seen multiple examples of people building custom multi-dimensional views of a customer, and bringing together both proprietary sources inside an organization with things like Dynamics 365 or other CRM accounts, augmenting that with information from Office about what meetings are we going to, and really crafting it for a particular type of seller or type of customer service representative. And those things can play well on mobile. They also can work very well on the web, and we've seen lots of examples of that. And then finally, it's kind of a variant of the rest of these, but just PowerApps is really excelling at very focused, task-based experiences. When I need to design an experience experience that isn't, starting at my Windows desktop or at the web of all of the possible routes that a worker can take. But I need an employee to just focus on one task and do it really well in a guided situation. And that's another place where PowerApps really extends or excels. And you may have seen in the general session yesterday, Metro Bank is doing this with PowerApps. They have an app crafted for the greeters that sit in the front of their retail banking locations that is just highly optimized to checking people in as they come into the bank and pairing them up with available tellers of the right expertise and getting them in a queue. Just a very focused experience, and PowerApps makes that very visual, very tappable, very clickable so that employee can get through their day and focus on the customer service conversation at hand. Okay, so there's a lot of great reasons to care about PowerApps. There's a lot of great people using PowerApps, but how is it really and what can you do? There's a couple demos we want to share with you today, and we think they're fabulous. But the first one we'll dive into right now. So I think this is the fourth demo I've done at Ignite so far, and we're only 2 days in. The others we have built from built up from a starting point. This one, just to be totally transparent, I'm going to actually start from scratch. I'm going to start from a truly new project and start to build up an application really quickly that starts to show what's really possible on this platform. For those of you who maybe have had some experience with PowerApps, this might be a refresher for you, but for those of you who are new and even those of you who are experienced, we want to talk about what's going on here. So this is PowerApps.com. I'll briefly, before we dive into authoring, mention that the common data service is right at hand here. And when we talk about what we can do with all of these business entities, all of this data that's here. Most business applications start from and revolve around one and usually more of these types of things. Who are my employees? Who are my leads? Who are my customers? Who are my accounts? In this case, let's go talk about customers, right? For each of those things, to have a definition of what do we define as a customer here in this company that we can very quickly start to leverage out of the box, right? What are the different fields there? Being able to use that very quickly is powerful. PowerApps is also able to then very quickly generate applications in UI on top of that data. And one of the great easy ways to get started, especially if you're new to PowerApps, is to start to dive in and generate automatically an app from one of those structured sources of data. So we can really point at anything that is in a table, right? Anything that's in list form, whether that's an entity in the common data service or a table in Excel. We'll grab customer here out of CDS. This can be a SharePoint list. It can be even data in Salesforce, right? Anything that's tabular, we can point at. We can start to automatically generate an application based off of that entity. And PowerApps is going to go connect on my behalf. It's going to use my ADAD credentials. It's going to go talk to that data source, so the custom data or the common data service, and it's going to go pull out information that's in there. It's going to pull out the metadata, the structure of the list. It's going to pull out all the actual data. It's going to build an app for me just like that. It actually builds just a very simple 3-screen mobile app. It gives me all the basic abilities that I had in the list underneath, but it formats them for me in this very mobile-friendly way, right? So right out of the box, this thing is actually useful, even if I do nothing with it, right? I can see all the items in my list, all my customers. I can go view a detail of any one customer. I can edit that customer or add a new one. Pretty cool stuff, but very basic, very simple. Now, of course, editing this and making it my own is really easy. If you haven't seen PowerApps before, you'll notice it looks kind of familiar. The screens of my app over here look not unlike slides in a PowerPoint. All these controls apply, right? I can give this name a cool theme. Let's make it dark. I like dark. And I can even take that concept of theming not just to the screen level or the whole app level. I can take it down to the layouts of my individual controls. So I can say, hey, this particular gallery of the list of customers, let's make it more visual. We have these nice pictures of people in here. So let's go reformat that list to look just like we want a customer list to look like. And we can do that, and that's pretty cool. And of course, we can get in and we can use our mouse to drag things around. We can use all of our PowerPoint or Word skills. We can make the font bigger. All that stuff is really easy and possible here. But unlike PowerPoint, and unlike Word and anything else in Office, these aren't static text boxes. These aren't just shapes on a canvas. They're actually bound and connected to data. And you notice that this particular box is bound to last name. And all of the other fields in that customer entity are here available to me. So I can really quickly switch that. Let's say, what's Elisa's is profession. And just like that, now we've just changed something in the app. We're binding it dynamically to the data underneath, and that's pretty cool. Now, of course, we lost her last name. And that brings up another point that's important here. PowerApps is powerful from a drag and drop perspective and a point and click perspective, but as we're doing that, as we're configuring this application, what PowerApps is actually doing behind the scenes is stamping out a whole bunch of Excel-like formulas. In fact, every property of every control in this application is governed by and connected through a set of very simple expressions in a language that millions and millions of business users already speak, all across the planet. And that really takes what you can do with your mouse to a whole nother level. And I'll show you a couple examples of that that are simple, and then we'll go do some that are harder. So for example, we can get last name back, right? We can write a simple concatenation formula. We'll get the last name of this item. And of course, we might want some text spacing in there. We'll get fancy. And so just like that, we can start to bring data together and start to mash it up and start to do different things with the information that's connected under the hood. Of course, we can configure all of our actions in this application. We can go navigate to a detail screen and set that up. And now this app is actually navigating around. And all these same concepts apply when we're configuring forms and any other thing in the application as well. Now, this is great, but we're still only talking about one data source, and we're still really only looking at a forms over data style application. Let's start to do some more interesting stuff. For one, we can start to mash up data with multiple sources. And we'll start talking over the course of today, and actually the next demo, we'll dive into this sort of fictionalized scenario around a Contoso fast track. It's the idea that we're a sort of highly qualified group of customer success agents that go jump into deals when they're at risk and help out customers with hands-on training and workshops and one-on-one things. It's heavily inspired by our great customer success team here at PowerApps, who, if you haven't gotten to know, many of them are sitting in the front row, and you should certainly introduce yourselves to. And a team like that, they're not sellers every day. They actually live day in and day out in tools like SharePoint, where they collaborate around. They have a whole bunch of sites and SharePoint lists. In this case, they're keeping track of upcoming trainings and upcoming schedules that they have with some of these customers. What's cool is that with PowerApps, we can really quickly take a SharePoint site like that and add it right into our app. So we're going to go grab some of our data sources here. And you'll see that just connected right here inside of PowerApps are all of those 160 plus connectors. In fact, these are all the things I already have connected. I can go browse over all of the different services and applications that I might want to bring into this app. And I can bring them in just by clicking a button. For most of these things, all I have to do is that exact same OAuth at the front door, log in with my creds, and I use it just as myself here in the app. So in this case, I've got SharePoint already connected a few times. So we will add a SharePoint list. We'll go point at that particular site. And just like that, the list that we're looking for will light up, and we'll be able to bring them into our application. And when we do that, adding new screens to the application that take advantage of those things in the list is really easy. I can come back here to PowerApps. I can say, let's add a new form screen to go view any one of those particular training opportunities. And in this case, we're going to bind our form not to the entity in the common data service, the customer, we're going to bind it to the fast track schedule. And that's going to light up information from the form. And again, all of our same skills apply. We know all of the things about who this customer is and when it is and what the training manual is. We have all those fields coming through, just like we saw previously from the common data service. They work from SharePoint as well. We can turn off things we don't want, like the compliance asset ID, whatever that means, and get this to start to look like what we want it to be. Of course, we've got to decide what item do we want to show here, and this is where this sort of formula language becomes important, right? So we can say, for this form, we actually want to go do a lookup. We want to go mash up data from that common data service and go look it up in SharePoint. So we're going to go write this lookup function, and we're going to go look it up from the fast track SharePoint list. And it's going to ask us, what is the condition by which we're going to look it up? Well, we want to know that the email of the customer, oops, spaces are hard, matches the item that we selected in the gallery on the first screen, the email address there. And we are going to go bind that up. I guess we haven't selected a customer yet. Now we have selected Elise. And we can, if I did it right. Ah, yes, sorry. Thank you. There we go. So we'll go grab it from the common data service, and we'll be able to light up this training particularly for Elise. And so that's simple, right? And we're doing simple things with this, but we're using those concepts to start to bring together information. Now, of course, we can also do more advanced things around formatting. And this is new if you've been following PowerApps. We can actually start to do conditional formatting, and we can start to build that into the fabric of how our application works. So I'm going to do something here. I'm going to add a button. And we want to know if we're on a particular customer, if they have signed up for a training. We want to go, well, first we'll go navigate it to the screen we just added. But we also want to know that they've signed up for that training. And we want to be able to go share the details of that training, right? And so we want to go do something else here. We want to go express some logic. Now, by default, we only want this to show up if there's a training actually available. So we'll turn that off for a minute. And then we will go add a new rule on this canvas, right? So we're going to say if something is true in this case, then we're going to go design a whole conditional state of our application that didn't exist before and will only exist when the thing is true. And we're going to go use that same formula we did before. We're going to go say if what was in our browse gallery selected has an upcoming training, because that's something we know in the common data service, and let's go define our actions. And for one, that means we can actually go light up the visibility of this button. It also means that we're going to want to style it and make it look cool. Let's make it green. We can also actually go change the whole look of our app. We're not limited even to one control or button here. We can go, that's going to make the whole thing green just to make this really obvious. Whoa, maybe not black. We'll just get very green here. And we'll do that if it's true. So now we have this atrociously green application, which we know since Elise and Ashley have a training upcoming will go green, but for Angie, who does not have one, won't be, and we won't see the button show up. So just very simple things like that, we can start to express logic, and there's a lot of power that comes off of that. All right, so we've mashed up multiple data sources. We've started to put together different types of formatting, and our app is responding, and we're doing all of this without writing code. Of course, there are situations in which we might want some code. We might want our applications to go further. In fact, one thing that this team is doing all the time is meeting new people and signing up new customers and getting new leads introduced. And if they're living all day long in this application, they want a quick, easy way to start entering those new customers. And of course, they could do it in a form like this, and forms are kind of the bread and butter of business apps. But we can do something better and even more interesting than that, right? Let's go add a camera to the canvas for one thing. And what we're going to do here is, hi everybody. We're going to take a couple steps here to actually use some text recognition out of cognitive services to go pull text off a business card and populate it into this application, just because we can. And that'll be fun, right? So we'll do a couple things here. For one, we're going to go add a new data source. And we mentioned that all of those pro-developer capabilities that we might integrate here, in fact, we have this recognition Azure function stubbed out here that on demand, running serverless in Azure, is going to go take an image and go find the text to recognize from it. We can very quickly start to take something like this as a pro developer. We can build this building block without having to totally rethink our Power Users app. From the Azure portal, we can start to very easily start to integrate it into PowerApps and Flow. We can publish it in just a button. Here's another example of that. We can say, let's grab the API definition, and we'll see this nice button show up that says export to PowerApps and Flow. It'll actually walk us through the process step by step of how we make the function like that available. Basically, we're just wrapping a Swagger file around the REST API so that a user in PowerApps can reason with it. And so this is how, when we want to do something more advanced, and obviously this is just a simple example, it's really easy for a pro developer in our org to solve just that one problem and not have to worry about the full stack solution. Of course, back here in PowerApps, as we're building, it means that we see those things light up just like we see any SharePoint connection or anything else in our list, right? We see our OCR function that our pro developer made available to us, and we can use it just like we use the common data service, just like we use SharePoint. In fact, all that same formula language applies. We can say, hey, when we select on select of this camera, when we go basically press the button, we're going to go set a variable. Now, this is also a really powerful feature of PowerApps, right? We can start to set things that are transparent and working in the context of our app. And we're going to go name our variable results. And just by that, by naming it, we've instantiated it. And then we want to go say, what do we want to do? We want to do the results of this detect text operation from this custom API that we just added. And you'll notice here that we're getting help kind of walking through step by step. What text do we want to detect? What image do we want to pass it? We want to take the camera. We want to take the photo that's taken by the camera. And then just to be, oops, that's not my API key. Just to be real here, of course, this isn't open to the public. We need to provide an auth code to get this thing to work. And we're going to wrap that up. And now we're ready to go. Now, of course, we want to do something with it when it does come back. So we're going to go take this first name field here, which otherwise you would have had to laboriously type into. We're going to unlock it from the standard form that came out of the box. And we're going to say, hey, our default here is not what came out of a new form. It's actually from this results thing that we just created. It's going to be the first name. And here, we'll do the same thing here, just to do more than one. We'll do the last name. OK, now all we need to do is meet a new customer. And for that, my lovely assistant Ankit is going to play the role of Alex. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm glad you're interested in PowerApps. Please step over here. I'd like to scan your business card.
OK, let's give this a try.
Yeah, let's give this a try. Let's hold it up. Oh, yeah, we got to make sure that we're well positioned there.
Yeah.
Hey, just like that. Come on, that was cool. That went to space, right? All right. So just like that, we've obviously this is a very simple scenario, but we've taken it from what started as just a really simple forms over data application, automatically generated. We mashed it up with Office data. We did a lookup. We did conditional formatting. We made the app respond to it, and then we extended it with professional code, and we did some really cool stuff. Now, it's all of those same ingredients that all of the customer use cases, everything you've heard about so far and all those customer stories, they're cooking with exactly the same pots and pans. And you can do that too. And that's what's really powerful about the platform. Now, of course, the question then becomes, where does this fit in the bigger picture? How do all these things play together? Now, it's not just this platform of these cool applications. They don't just stand alone. They actually sit underneath and connect between everything that we're doing in Office 365, everything that we're doing in Dynamics 365, and through integrations like what you just saw, they plug into the full power of Azure. When we think about the Microsoft Cloud, we really think about these three anchor tenets, the productivity suite of Office, everything that we're doing, all the billions of signals we're generating every day in our meetings and accounts and emails and documents that we're storing in the cloud and ways that we're collaborating in SharePoint, all of those skills of all of those makers. There's 100 million monthly active users working there that have been building those skills for a long time. Dynamics 365 then really is the business application family, the business application cloud, where in contrast to the productivity data, the personal stuff that we're accumulating about our own individual working lives, these are where our leads live. These are where our accounts live, where our processes live, where we manufacture our goods and sell our services. And all that data as well is available here. And all of the same patterns of being able to address business data in those places and actually being able to then extend and automate and embed with what we can do in those applications all apply with Office as well. And then through things like adding custom connectors, really that full power of Azure, everything I can do in app service, in functions, and beyond, is all available to take this stuff further as well. Now, the shining example of that is SharePoint, and where we really started on this journey of extending what Microsoft can do is with the application platform is with SharePoint. And if you've been to a SharePoint session at the conference so far today, you've probably seen evidence of this big love as well. What we're really excited to announce, and at this point it's not a new announcement because we've had a few sessions about it, is that starting really in just a couple weeks rolling out to first release tenants, every form on a custom list in SharePoint will be customizable in PowerApps. So all those same skills you just saw me use for a standalone mobile app, I can now use to richly customize the forms that are inside of all of my SharePoint lists, which means that I can bring multiple data sources to them and mash them up. I can make them look exactly like I want them to look like. I can add multiple screens. I can extend them with professional code, and I can do all of that in exactly the same ease and capability that you just saw me build the little customer app. So that will start rolling out here really just at the beginning of next month, and we're super excited for where it goes, and particularly experiences like that point-and-click rule-building experience for conditional formatting really mean that this is really ready to take over for many of those InfoPath use cases that we have used in the past in this context. But of course, it doesn't stop there, and PowerApps goes much further than just SharePoint. And even today, we can embed a Power App in a Teams site and start to extend Microsoft Teams. And we can embed a Power App in a Power BI dashboard. And in fact, by the end of the year, you'll be able to do that in a context-aware way. And we'll see a little bit of a preview of what that looks like here in a minute. And these are really just the first examples of Power Apps rolling out across that family. Of course, that doesn't stop in Office. It extends to Dynamics 365 as well. Now today, it's very easy to start building Power Apps on top of data in Dynamics 365, and that's what customers like Metro Bank are doing. And soon, you'll be able to do those same patterns of embedding and customization inside of Dynamics 365 products as well as Office 365 products. And again, all of those same benefits apply. The ability to quickly mash up data sources from multiple places, have more people be able to create solutions. All of that goodness just extends as a network effect across these clouds as well. But of course, the reason why we're doing all of this is because no business application stands alone. They integrate with each other. And this is why just building a one standalone mobile app for contact management or customer management is cute and it's cool, but none of those processes are independent. And so it's important for Power Apps to be able to connect to all of these different services. It's also important for Power Apps to be able to extend those services because that's where our users are working every day. And the next demo that we want to show, and Ankit will come up and help me show it, is to really go deep on what that looks like and what it means, what you can do with Power Apps inside of all these services. I like to think about it as the turducken of demos, which is a concept that I'm going to pause and explain here because as I was telling this to people, I realized it's a very regional concept that not a lot of people understand. A turducken is a chicken inside of or a duck inside of a chicken inside of a turkey. Because you can. But what that really means in a Power Apps context is what you're about to see is a Power BI dashboard or tile embedded inside a Power App, embedded inside SharePoint. And then we'll follow that forward to go look at more information in Power BI and see a Power App embedded inside a Power BI, which when we act on it will trigger a message in Teams that has a Power App embedded in Teams, which will contribute information back to SharePoint, which has a Power App embedded in it, and a special surprise for you at the end. And we're just getting started, right? So let's try this out one more time and start to see these things together. So we're going to pop over here to SharePoint. And in fact, we are here at the Contoso Fast Track team site again. In fact, this is built off of one of the same lists we were just looking at. And you'll notice that right here, we've crafted that experience inside SharePoint. We're not, we're using some of the great modern out-of-the-box components from SharePoint, the news feeds, the activity history, the documents. But really what's important for our team living inside of SharePoint every day is knowing what customers are top opportunities for fast track engagement here. And where are they in the pipeline? And do we have them in fast track already, or are there alerts we need to process off of them? And in fact, we can look at in this embedded Power BI tile inside of this embedded Power Apps experience inside of our customized SharePoint site to really tailor this experience exactly to our team, exactly to our company. We can see exactly what we need to look at just for our team right here, and we were able to build it ourselves, and that's powerful. And in fact, we can see right here that Northwind Traders has a little alert on it in the list, and Power BI tells us that the average quote time to resolution for this customer is going through the roof, and that's not a good thing. It's got an alert on it. So we can actually click forward. We can go forward into Power BI to get more information. And what you're looking at here is a Power BI report, if you're familiar with Power BI, but it has a couple of special characteristics to it. You'll notice that not only does it have some of your standard great visualizations out of Power BI, it also has an embedded Visio diagram, and it has this embedded Power App that's very similar to the one we just saw. And it means that we see that for a customer like Northwind that we have a lot of qualified opportunities, but they're taking forever to land. And we can start to drill in and see where in that process, what's the holdup, and how can we help as the fast track team? Sitting here observing what we observe, right? We've got good deal flow, we've got a good pipeline, but it really looks like things are getting, I guess my zoom it function isn't working. Sorry. Things are getting stopped up here in the prototyping phase. And that's exactly what Fast Track is for, right? Fast Track, our team, we go in, we prototype things for customers. So we're going to use this Power App here to actually take action on this information. You'll notice that as I click around this thing, the Power App, the Visio diagram, they're all connected to each other. They're contextually aware of what I'm selecting in one place and another. So I can pop in and say, hey, as the Fast Track lead, I'm going to recommend this customer for Fast Track onboarding, and I'm going to fire that off. Now, of course, I'm just the Fast Track lead. I'm not actually on the sales team. I don't work inside of sales. I don't see the CRM data, and I don't know this customer intimately. So what's going to happen there, as it would in any company, it's going to fire a request off somewhere, and somebody else in the organization that I may or may not even know is going to have to take smart action on it. And that smart person is Ankit.
Hello, everybody. So I'm the salesperson in the Contest team. And being a salesperson, my tools of choice are Teams, Outlook, and things which I can use when I'm in the field across the world helping my customers. So as soon as Ryan clicked that request to suggest onboarding for Northwind, we can see I got this rich card inside of Teams pop up inside of my Teams channel. If I click see more here, I can see that this rich card using all the capabilities of Microsoft bots, Microsoft cards, and Microsoft connectors framework was able to get the customer's name, the customer's logo, even information down to who is the account manager, what is the estimated value, what's the average code time, and all the information I need to make a decision right there where I work. Not only that, it was able to even put a button to the PowerApps app we use to onboard customers to Fast Track. But if I click this will launch the Power App, but that's not interesting. I mean, I don't want to switch context. Nobody wants to switch context. So as Ryan talked about earlier, we have a capability to embed Power Apps inside of Teams directly. To do that, I'm going to use this added app capability in Teams, select Power Apps, and I can now see all the apps I have access to and add them to my team. Once I select the app and click the Save button, it essentially is adding this app into the team, and everybody inside the channel, not just me, will be able to use it in context in line. Now, this being a Fast Track app built over the same data, which Ryan showed earlier, using Dynamics, SharePoint, and all the other 166 connectors, shows me the same view in context using my persona and all the customers. I can do things like search over a list, which will delegate this query back to the server to give me only the results I care about. So we care about Northwind traders. So let me proceed with them. And once I click that, I then see this form. Now this data, again, being in context and contextually aware of my Office 365 graph and my Dynamics 365 data, was able to pull off from my Office contact list that I have 3 customer contacts from Northwind whom I can use to submit this request. And not only that, like I can do rules, as Ryan was showing earlier. Like when I select James, automatically the customer email got updated. I don't need to type it. I already have this information in Outlook stored. So for this scenario, let's use Satya, naturally.
Naturally.
The other thing I can do is so what you saw, that slide delay, that was essentially pulling in this information about all the supported types coming in from an active list managed by the Fast Track team in SharePoint. So it's not this static data inside the app. If tomorrow the Fast Track team goes ahead and enables one more support type, that will just show up. I don't need to come and update my app here. Let's do a prototype. And you just saw another option become available. So that's a capability of Power App. You can build the app and forms in a way such that it mimics your process and does not confuse your user into adding information which they need not. Ryan, what do you think we should prototype?
I think Satya definitely needs a warp drive today.
A warp drive
Yep.
to do more work?
Yep.
OK, let's select a warp drive.
It's probably a high priority
item. So
yep.
let's mark it as a 3-star item, saying it's a high priority and we need to.
Excellent.
So again, a very contextual aware control, which is there are 3 stars. How many you want to add? Not a number field where I have to type 1, 2, 3, or even put a message saying, please type between 1 or 3.
Cool. So let's get Satya signed up here.
So as soon as I hit the submit request, what the app did here is went ahead and created a new item in the SharePoint list, which Ryan's team uses for managing the fast track customers. And let me refresh the list quickly to show you that a new item got created. And here we have Northwind traders now available here. But you will notice one of the things there is that that item has not been approved by the manager yet. Oh, sorry. And we saw that email notification also came in. So what happened in the background was this list is connected to Microsoft Flows. And whenever a new item is created in this list, a notification is sent to the person's manager saying, hey, this person is requesting a new FastTalk onboarding. Do you want to approve this or not? So in this case, again, using the same data logic and all the 166 connectors, even Flow was able to get the same set of information and show me this rich card inside of Outlook with all the details and the ability to approve or reject in line. But before I approve this, I may want to see what this record is. So I can actually click this link, and it will take me to SharePoint and show me all the details about that customers. I can make my decision based on that. I can come to Flow. I can come to my Outlook. Sorry, this is not Flow yet. I can come to Outlook. I can say, yes, this makes sense. Let's approve this. Oh, sorry, there's a button there. I need to submit it.
The scroll technology you have to operate on your own. We can't automate everything for you.
We'll build that one day.
We will.
We'll build it, definitely. So what essentially happened there is, now if I refresh this list again, we'll see that the item got approved. This item got approved. So Flow went ahead and took my approval, went back into SharePoint, and updated the item. To quickly show how easy it is to create an approval flow, this is my list. I can click this Flow button. I can click this Create a Flow option. Once I click that, I see all of these flows which are in context to what a SharePoint user will want to do, and I can select a flow which I want to generate. In this case, I want to generate the approval flow, so I click this. Again, SharePoint and Flow, being contextually aware about me and this SharePoint list, have automatically captured all the information needed to create this flow. And all I need to do is click Continue, and I get this nice wizard-like experience of my process, saying, hey, when a new item is created, start an approval, and do a conditional check on the approval. If the item was successfully created, inform the creator. If the item was successfully approved, inform the creator. Otherwise, inform the creator of the rejection. The only information I need to put here is the approver's email ID. But we do not want that to be static because we want it to be sent to the the person's manager. And Flows lets you do that with simple click actions. I'm going to click this plus button here, and I'm going to say add an action. Once I do that, Flows pops up this easy-to-use action selection wizard. Again, it has all the 166 connectors we talked about earlier and thousands of actions among them. And the action I'm looking for here is called the Get Manager action. So once I do that, I can see that there's a Get Manager action available on Office 365 users, again, connecting to the same AAD key, AAD identity, which Ryan talked about earlier. I can do that. I need to provide which user to get this manager for. Flow, again using the same context and logic about everything it has created, gives me a list of things about the previous item. So I can simply say, whosoever has created the item by using the created by email, get the manager for that person. Next step, in the approval step, I can get the same list of fields coming from the get manager now, and I can select the person's email or the manager's email and hit create flow. And that's it. With that, I've created this flow, and the approvals request will be sent to the manager, and everything will proceed from that.
Awesome.
At this point, Ryan's team is going to take over because naturally they have this new item available. And how are you going to proceed with that?
Well, I think now we have the really hard decision to know whether we want to actually take this Satya Nadella guy up on his request for training. it's one thing to see the, the information that is naturally available about this one line item outside of SharePoint, and the native stock form that SharePoint would generate would be just a very simple, verticalization of all those columns in a list. But now that PowerApps is embedded inside of SharePoint, we're able to build, again, all of those same custom experiences, all those same custom experiences we've been crafting inside Teams and inside Power BI. We're going to build them right into the context of the SharePoint list. Now, what you saw before was the app running sort of as a web part inside of a SharePoint page. Now it's right contextually aware of the list item that we have selected, and I can switch between list items and get this information updated on this particular entry. In fact, I can pop it into edit mode and sign up to actually agree to go do this training for Mr. Nadella here, and that's pretty powerful.
So what just Ryan did, because the Power App was aware of the person logged in, he did not even have to select his name. If you see the field of assigned to, it has changed to Ryan automatically using the context. This was a request in InfoPath, I don't know for how many years?
Long time.
Long time.
Yep. So we've been able to light that up, and we've done it very simply within the experience. Now, of course, there's this great customize button inside of that form, and you may have missed it here, right? We've got a PowerApps button on top of every single embedded InfoPath form, which allows me to click that button and open this form up for editing inside of PowerApps now. And that's the gesture that we'll take. In fact, we'll pop it over here. I think we may already have it open. And now we can do all of the same things that we can do in PowerApps, all those same things that we use to build the standalone mobile app and the app embedded in other places, we can use to customize our list form here as well, including adding new screens, adding new controls, adding new capabilities. And a new thing that we're very excited to announce today that unfortunately you'll need to wait just a little bit to try out yourself is we'll even be able to add rich controls, including from LinkedIn right into this context. So the LinkedIn Sales Navigator product is pretty cool. It allows customers with access to go browse the full breadth and intelligence of the LinkedIn graph and get rich context about this high-value customer that we might want to bring into our fast-track onboarding, right? And if we don't know who Satya Nadella is, I mean, his name sounds familiar, but we probably want to go look up more information about this lead, about this customer, before we go get ready for our fast-track training. And we can do that. In fact, we can control this with all of the same capabilities that you saw us use earlier inside of PowerApps, right? We can come into this formula bar and we can pass this LinkedIn control the context of who we're looking for and get back rich information. So we can say we want the SharePoint integration, and we want to pass it the first name. And just like that, it's going to go pass the first name off to LinkedIn. And, well, James is selected here, so let's go add the last name to the last name field. Yeah. And we'll keep passing it some more context. What's cool about this control is it gets richer the more context that you pass it. So we can pass it the first name and the last name, and now all of a sudden we found our CVP, James Phillips, here right inside of LinkedIn, and we get all the rich capabilities of LinkedIn to be able to go navigate around him, see who we can get introduced to, and see whatever related leads are related to him as well. So that's pretty powerful, and just one example of what's possible as we start to build more and more capabilities into this platform. And as PowerApps gets extended through that professional code, as it gets extended through more partners coming to the platform, through more connectors, and more of what you add to it, more things like this just start to light up and make the platform even richer. And that's pretty awesome. So thank you, Ankit.
Thank you, Grant. Yeah. Wonderful.
So just to review, that was a lot of stuff, right? We started at a SharePoint site. We saw a web part embedded Power App that had a Power BI tile embedded in it. And it was pulling data, by the way, from the common data service directly into that Power App to get information about our customer list that was coming originally from Dynamics. That's not even in the diagram. And we clicked on that Power BI tile, we opened Power BI, and we saw, again, a richly customized action-based experience embedded in Power BI so we could take action at the moment of insight right there. And that also was pulling data out of the common data service right into this place. That triggered a process in Teams, which had, again, a Power App embedded to take action, which using Flow, put data back in a SharePoint list, allowed us to open up a Power App inside of SharePoint, and we were even able to embed richly Sales Navigator right inside of a Power App, right inside of SharePoint in the context of a selected list item. And we were able to do all of that in a few minutes here before we've even hit the end of the session. And that kind of power is just really transformational inside of these applications. So what's coming next? And where do we go from here? Well, as PC Mag noticed, we've been shipping a lot of stuff. And I won't go over all of the individual bullet points here, but we've had a lot of exciting updates lately. The ability to customize forms in SharePoint is definitely important. What's coming very shortly on the heels of that is the ability to utilize attachments, multi-select fields, images in your SharePoint online lists. Yeah, you can clap for that. We've heard you. It's coming soon, by the end of the year for sure, if not sooner. And you'll be able to also then start to embed richer web parts, including within Power BI reports and SharePoint Online pages like you saw in the demo today. The Rules Explorer is already live in production. We just shipped the first iteration of it, and you'll see advancements to that over the next coming releases. We also have some great admin story stuff that's shipping in the rest of this year on the calendar year that will allow for great, even better visibility and management. There's a great session on administration tomorrow that you should check out if you're interested in that. And finally, looking even further than that into the calendar year, you may have seen more of this in the general session yesterday, but we're really starting to take the capabilities of PowerApps even further than what you've seen today by moving around controls on a canvas. And part of that mission of make it very easy to sort of automate and extend and customize business processes means we're always looking for ways for people to go further and for those apps to be even more sophisticated. And so you'll start to see server-side business logic for validation and easy default setting light up in PowerApps within 2018. You'll start to see model-driven applications, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a second of what that means. You'll see even more compliance and fundamentals, including government clouds and GDPR support. And you see more support for sophisticated scenarios, particularly for folks for connecting to SQL with stored procs and views, ALM, sandbox environments. The more sophisticated end of the stack gets even richer. So we talked a bit about server-side logic. We'll be leveraging a lot of the technology richly that's available in the Dynamics platform today, and making it available directly inside of PowerApps. So you don't have to be a Dynamics customer to use it. So the ability to set rules that run once on the server, that you set once on the server, and they run no matter what app is connected to them for deciding what is a valid entry into a form or what a default field should look like, to be able to kick off a workflow based on an app's response. All that is coming powerfully to the platform. And as we're doing that, we're also looking at bringing in the model-driven capabilities that exist in the Dynamics platform today. And what does that mean? Well, it means that unlike PowerApps and all the creation experiences that you just saw, where we sort of start at the app user experience and we design it around and we plug it into data and we move forms and fields around, model-driven apps actually start at the other end of the spectrum. Model-driven apps start more like a flow. They start by looking at a business process and lining it out, and then they automatically generate the UA. They automatically generate the forms. And so business process modeling, business process flow support will come along with this to the platform. Again, this is a feature today of Dynamics 365, and what we'll do in 2018 is to start to bring those capabilities, which are robust and rich and businesses are relying on, we'll bring them directly into PowerApps so you'll be able to use them over the common data service as well. And so what that all amounts to is in addition to all the rich capabilities for PowerApps creation, is we'll light up this new capability, this new method of app building where we can define our entities, model our data, design a business process and workflow around them, design entity forms that are connected to those entities, and then collect all that stuff together, and bam, an app will magically be created. It'll be great for the more immersive and multivariate process-driven scenarios where we don't want to actually design every single screen of every single form in pixel-perfect quality. We just want multiple paths to be lit up and generated. And there's a lot of great traction in this space in the Dynamics community today. We're excited to bring it to PowerApps as well. Of course, that will sit alongside and complement and extend what you can do today in that canvas-based environment, all the great stuff you saw already, and both of those use cases will still exist. In fact, we see a lot of great customers who are Dynamics and PowerApps customers already doing this today. Metro Bank uses a Power App designed on their canvas to provide a very focused experience for the greeter, and then uses a model-driven app powered by Dynamics today for their teller experience, because that teller conversation could go in multiple different directions. So that's just an example of what's coming, and we'll tell you a lot more about that as we roll it out, and certainly we'll want to get your feedback. So at the end of the day, we want you to jump in. We want you to join us. If you're already with us, we want you to go deeper. We certainly want you to get hands-on with the product and try it out if you haven't already. PowerApps.com is a great way to start. If you have an Office 365 subscription that's Enterprise 1, 3, or 5, you already have access to this. You can already start using it if you haven't tried it already. Of course, if you have used it, as you do use it, we want to hear from you. This is a young product. We've released it less than a year ago. We're adding to it on an almost a weekly basis, and we want to put in it what you want it to be. So jump into the PowerApps community, let us know, raise your hand, come meet us, talk to us at the booth. There's an armada of PowerApps developers and PMs and staff and even designers here at Ignite, and we would love to chat with you, and we're happy to hang out after this for a little bit. And particularly if you're interested in access to the LinkedIn control that we demoed, if you want an early preview of that, go hit this AKAMS link and fill out a short survey, and we're putting people in line for a private preview of that LinkedIn capability as we get ready to roll it out in 2018. Of course, there are also more sessions that you can learn from. Some of these have already happened, but of course the recordings are online if you've missed them. So feel free to take a photo of this as well. These are just the sessions put on by the business application platform team. I guess there's a few here from the Office team as well, but there are really a lot of folks talking about Power Apps and Flow and the broader platform at the conference today. And of course, we actually really want you to join us. We are actually hiring and growing our team. So if you are somebody who might be interested in a black belt technical seller role, or joining our program management team, or joining our software engineering team, those are all posted publicly at careers.microsoft.com. And we would love your help building this out. So with that, we've got about 5 minutes left, and I would love to leave that for question and answer. Like I mentioned, we've got a lot of great people in the audience here who know the platform. Feel free to come grab a question on a mic, or if you're shy, we can just jump down off the stage and talk one-on-one as we go. All right, thanks everybody.